We are testing the Temporal Forces onwards format, so after rotation ahead of EUIC. If you want to see any other decks, any particular Pokemon used or cards used, drop them in the comments below and I'll be sure to bring those in the upcoming episodes. In this one we've got Charizard revamped and we've got the future box. I'll quickly show you through the list and then let's get into these matches. I will give a disclaimer, we are still testing, we're changing decks constantly, we're trying to find the best list, so I'm just showing you guys that experience and process. If you want to suggest anything or you've got any ideas, like I say, throw them down below and we'll try them out here on the channel for you. We just want to try as much as possible ahead of the tournament. Obviously no tournaments with this and rotation, so it should be very interesting. Let's get into the deck list though and start with Charizard. The Charizard we're using here is not too dissimilar to what we've seen currently. Obviously, we don't need to play as many out, so we've dropped the Lost Vacuum. I would potentially drop another Stadium here if you do need some more room, maybe a 4th Iono. You got the 4 Buddy Puffin or Friendship Puffin, whatever their actual translation is. Instead of the VIP pass, we've got the 1 Mist Energy, so we can stop those Star Requiems and Gougings and things like that. Other than that, we've got the Toad School tech in here, which basically it helps stop the Chenpaos and Goldengos retrieving their energy so easily. They do have to knock this out before they can. Both of those decks have been very popular in Japan, so we wanted to test it out. Even though the tech wouldn't really help in the future matchup, I do think it is a tech we're going to be playing going forward. So we wanted to try it out in the deck. Other than that, there's very few other things to change. You could potentially drop a Jirachi, as a Sableye and Lost Zone in general doesn't seem very popular at all. So that's another change you can make. Got the Maximum Belt as the A-Spec just so Charizard can get aggressive early on. Other than that, very standard, very similar to what we see with Charizard currently. So let's take a look at that future box before we get into the match. Now this one, I've taken a screenshot of what I filmed for the deck profile, which will be coming in a separate video, where I just talk through the deck, what it does, how to play it, why certain things are in there, and other tech cards you might want to use. So if you do want to see that, make sure you're subscribed. But that will be coming. It might even be out by this time, or it'll be out very shortly if not. Like I say, we are changing these decks constantly, so I will update you as much as possible as we play. But looking at the deck there, you've got the 3 Miraidon, which basically accelerates 2 energy onto your future Pokemon, which is why you want to go second. You want to get this attack off very early, so you can not only take a knockout on things like Charmander, Ralts, any of the smaller Pokemon, the Gimmighouls, Frigibacks, anything like that, because you can stack up damage with Iron Crown. Now Iron Crown gives your future Pokemon 20 extra damage. If you've got 3 in play, that 40 damage on the Miraidon is now 100, and even with the capsule, the tool in this deck, you can get it up to 120. So you're taking knockouts on those Cramorants, Sableyes, any of those smaller Pokemon. Other than that, we've got a few different attackers. So we've got Iron Hands, which obviously you all know about. We've got Iron Treads, which hits for 60 base. It's metal and fighting if it has a tool attached, the future tool specifically. So it can hit for a few weaknesses. It can one-hit KO an Arceus, which is why it's in this deck. And it only attacks for 2 energy, which most stuff in this deck attacks for 3 or 4 with Iron Hands. So it's nice to have that easy attack, as it can be very difficult to get so much energy in play. Reboot Pod does help with that. Obviously attach an energy from your discard to each future Pokemon in play, but it is 1 to each, so you do need energy switches, which we've got in here to move that around. Other than that, we've got Iron Leaves. That's the grass Pokemon, which can jump into your active and pull some energy onto it, so it's able to attack into those Charizard for the 1-hit knockouts. Will we be able to pull it off in this match? Let's find out and jump into it. So the idea here is on the side of the future box, we've got things like Miraidon, which is able to accelerate energy. We've got the Iron Leaves to deal with Charizard. We've got Iron Valiant for some pings to hit those numbers here and there. And then obviously Iron Crown, a lot of irons. Iron Crown adds 20 damage to each future Pokemon. You can stack it, so you can have 3 of those in play. Hit for an extra 60. You got the tool as well. That's an extra 20, so that's 80 extra damage on your Pokemon. So you can reach those knockouts with things like the Iron Valiant. I mean, you just need a ping and you're almost at a Charizard. I did run 2 Iron Valiant to start with. I was almost tempted to run just Iron Valiant, but it can be very difficult to get set up. And yeah, I think that's one of the problems you'll find with this deck. Once it's had something knocked out, it's very hard to recover. Obviously, your only option really, the Miraidon, so you have to take that turn to set up again. Obviously, setting up by attaching energy that way as well means your Pokemon can just be bossed before you can even take an action. So stuff like Iron Hand, if you're setting that up, no doubt it's going to be pulled up off the bench before you can use it and knocked out, which is an issue we found with this deck, and it's currently I'm not sure where to place this deck at the moment, honestly. We've not seen it place much over in Japan, not seen many lists appear or it win any tournaments. So yeah, what we've played of it, what we've seen of it, I don't think this deck is going to be quite what it needs to be to take the meta by storm, which is unfortunate because I love a lot of these future Pokemon. Cobalion, Virizion, some of my favorite Pokemon of all time. So the fact that we've got these future versions is really cool. The fact that the deck isn't that great hurts a little. Going first especially. Miraidon can't attack, so you're just attaching and passing. There's no way to get any other energy in play. You can use the Reboot Pod, which is the A spec. You need a ton in the discard to make it worthwhile. And a lot of the time, you can almost need to get rid of it, like researching or something, or squawking early on. So I do think maybe this deck needs to run something like an Arven package, or maybe Ionos, instead of the research, because yeah, there's so many turns where you don't want to research, you don't want to discard things. And it is just going to be an attach to the Iron Hands and pass over. So it is over to the Charizard player here, and it looks like an Artisan off the top here. Able to search out some of those Pokemon, probably like a Charmander here. Need to get those in play early on. Didn't see what else was in hand. I did see a Charizard, so not the hottest start for the Charizard player. Obviously, Manaphy in the active isn't great either. You don't really want to burn your switch on that. You really need to save it for the Radiance and other things that can get stuck. So we're going to have to see an energy thrown away as well, which is never great. Although they do seem to be going back in, so we might have something here. It's just going to be the shuffle, so maybe not. It's going to be a Charmander going down. And if that's the start, Future Box might stand a chance here. You notice I still say might. Like I say, their turn was attach and pass. I know they got a lot of other stuff out as well, but I don't know. It just doesn't feel great as a future player. This is a good turn for them. Like they've got everything out, they've done what they need to, but going first just hurts them so much. And we do see an Iono come down here. Hopefully more cards searched out for the side of Charizard. We did see a Rotom there, so we might see some extra cards drawn, if nothing else. Ultra Ball in hand could potentially throw away that Toedscruel, not needing it in this matchup. Oh, the Buddy Poffin is there. So we are going to see the Charmander, maybe a Pidgey come down here, so that's fairly safe. No need to waste the Ultra Ball and force out another Charmander. And it is going to be Charmander Pidgey coming down. And that, from nowhere, has entirely turned around, which is what Charizard does. It has what it needs when it needs it. There's no scientific reason, but Charizard just always seems to have it. And that's another case of it there. Finding the Buddy Poffin off the Iono to get set up. And now from what looked like a really tough spot, starting Manaphy, nothing else. They're probably... yeah, that's probably their ideal setup. I mean, Rotom is quite hard to get out now. Obviously using Buddy Poffin, VIP is not quite the same as VIP. You can't get the Rotom. It's 70 HP or less. But it is going to be back over there. Rotom drawing 3 cards. And it's going to be the attach to the Miraidon here. And we could see an accelerating peak to get some energy onto that Iron Hands. It is going to be a knockout using that, which means Charizard is going to get powered up. It's also got the maximum belt, so it can just reach that Iron Hands without any modifiers, which is kind of scary. Obviously doing 180 base and 50 for the maximum belt. Gonna boss the Pidgey up there. I like that. I like that a lot more than taking a knockout on the Manaphy there. Obviously stopping Pidgey up could slow them down. Although looking at that hand, there's a lot going on the side of Miraidon. On Charizard. So the Miraidon on the other side. 2 energy going to the Iron Hands for future. But I don't know if that Iron Hands is going to survive. And this is what I mean. Even though it's set up, like next turn you can attach and attack, it's so slow setting up. You do get a knockout with Miraidon, but it is just one, and taking a single knockout into Charizard doesn't feel great anyway. So we're going to have to see here. I don't know. Yeah, it's rough here. So we are going to see, search into the deck there. I think it was the Artisan used. For the Pidgey, was that? We are going to see Charmander in the active, meaning we are almost definitely... Okay, Arven's coming down as well, so we're going to see Counter Catcher and the Forest Seal Stone here, meaning we're probably going to see that Iron Hands hit the discard pile, all that energy gone. There is a Heavy Baton in this deck list, so you can move that energy around, but obviously not on the Pokemon currently. And I think even if it's on the bench, I think you need to get that tool on it straight away. We didn't see any town store or the tool itself, so it does make it slightly more difficult. And yeah, the Charizard player is all set up now. The fact that you took the knockout with the Miraidon does mean Counter Catcher is online, which is another drawback. Never thought taking a prize would be a drawback, but Counter Catcher has really changed this format. Mostly for the better, but I don't know. I don't know if Boss should be the only way to drag someone up. I don't mind the A-Spec because you can only play one. Counter Catcher just seems really good. Especially, it's so annoying in like control decks where they can drag stuff up and store because obviously they're not taking prizes. Which is where I think it's, yeah, it's probably a little too powerful. And it is going to be, okay, Counter Catcher onto the Iron Crown. Obviously hitting for weakness means that's an easy knockout. Not finding the maximum belt there or any kind of modifier. And Iron Hands is going to come into the active. Obviously free retreat from the tool and some extra damage, meaning it's currently hitting for 160, which is pretty good. A couple more modifiers and we could maybe see... Okay, so it is going to be Iron Leaves coming into play. Going to grab a couple energy from the... Just double checking there. It is any type of energy. It's a very powerful ability. Grass and Psychic, and the attach return. So we are going to see the return knockout here into the Charizard, and we're going to see a Super Rod played here for the Iron Crown and some energy. Now we do discuss this a little later on. Like I say, we've played this deck a few times, but it is very much new to us. Because we're only running one Iron Leaves in this list, and that's another thing, changing lists around, you sort of have to remember exactly what you're playing. You do want to save the Super Rod, as there's only one Super Rod. You need that Iron Leaves back into your deck, and that's what we're going to find out here. The Iron Leaves can take a knockout onto Charizard. You can take your 2 prizes, but you need that Super Rod to potentially get it into play again next turn. And I think maybe you can seal this matchup with double Iron Leaves. The fact Super Rod's gone down, we've prioritized the Iron Crown for the extra damage. Yeah, probably means it's going to be an uphill struggle here. It is Iono coming down, so we're going to see both hands shuffled, which I don't mind at all there. Pretty good draw from Charizard. Charizard doing Charizard things. We see the EXP share go down onto the Iron Crown, and another tool, the Capsule Booster onto Miraidon. And we're going to see a Earthen Vessel here. Searching out some energy, maybe to get something set up next turn. I can imagine, this is what I mean though, once this Iron Leaves goes down, we're going to move back into the Miraidon, and we're going to have to once again set up our Pokemon, which is when this deck feels really slow. I mean, you could boss something up and take a knockout like the Pidgey. Okay, that's no longer an option as it evolves into Pidgeot. You could get the Manaphy and take a prize, then you just need 2 to finish the game. So the Future Box is very much still in this. It's just, it needs so many things at the right time to work. And a lot of the time, it just can't do it. It's what we've found so far. It feels very difficult when the pressure's put on it. So decks like Charizard that can deal with anything, Arceus, Giratina, stuff like that. It just flies through this deck. Not necessarily Arceus itself. I meant Arceus, Giratina as the deck. Just those big hitting Pokemon, just very difficult to deal with. So a little thought here from the Charizard player. Just thinking what to grab off this. Gonna see. I think maybe... Probably, yeah, not needing the belt anymore. Not needing any modifiers. Once a few prizes have been taken, Charizard can pretty much deal with everything here. And it is going to be Iono coming back. Obviously, the other thing about the Future Box, no draw support. So these late Ionos absolutely cripple it. As you can see there, had a few energy, had a research. It probably could have got off to a flyer there. Let's see what they draw off the 3. Does look like a couple of energy and research. So actually not too dissimilar of a hand. Charizard player going to refresh their hand here. Going to see, oh my God, the rare candy and the Ultra Ball. I keep saying it, but yeah, Charizard just does what Charizard wants, and it's going down. I think it's down to a single prize now, maybe two. I think the cards are overlapping there, and I don't think Future can get anything from this. They might be able to take a knockout or two and maybe make it close, but this match is sealed up at this point. There is no way to deal with this Charizard. That's what I mean. If the Iron Leaves had been super rodded back in, we might see something here. But the only other thing would be the Rotom. So if we could get the Iron Hands set up this turn, or no, because the boss is just going to bring the Iron Hands up. Yeah, I think the fact that Pidgeot is just going to grab a boss is going to be painful. But we do see some attachments. We could see some energy switch here. If we could see a boss and energy switch, we could actually see the end of this game. How much is Iron Hands doing? He's doing 120, 140, 160. So we'd need some more modifiers. We'd need to see the other Iron Crowns hit the bench as well. Or we could see the weakness hit on the Pidgeot. I don't think there's a boss in hand. Just a card short. The fact that Iron Hand is in this is very important for this deck. We've tried it without, and it just can't quite reach, especially against single prizes or decks that take the lead. It needs that something to get back into it. Like, you could take 3 prizes with Iron Hands, which is the only way they could really win this game. We've tested it against the Ancient Box, which is just full of single prizes, and again, it just falls behind. Obviously, just playing 2 prizes, and they're not particularly bulky. 220 HP is very standard. It's something quite achievable by most decks at this point. But yeah, I think it is. This deck's just missing something. It's got all the pieces, but it doesn't quite fit. It might be the list. It might be we see somebody crack it at some point. We are going to keep trying. We're going to keep bringing you these matches. So if you do want to see more matches like this, make sure you let us know what decks you want to see in the comments. Let us know any ways we could improve this, your viewing experience, as we will be doing more of these, more and more, up until the release. We've got a few months yet. So yeah, make sure you get those comments in, let us know. At the minute, we're just enjoying playing this format, honestly. It's interesting. The fact that we've only seen some Japanese lists and we can sort of create stuff ourselves and just really get to testing our deck building skills as well as playing is what I really like about this. And it is going to be Miraidon setting up the Iron Hands, hoping to hit, just trying to see what's in hand. And there it is. The Pidgeot searches out the boss for the, well, anything really. Iron Crown probably the easiest knockout, and that is going to be game. Going over to Charizard game 1. We are going to play 2 games for each, which seems strange, but it just fits. It's like a good amount. It's like half an hour. Don't want to take up too much of your time. So yeah, that's our aim. We're going to play 2 games. We're going to try and give each deck a chance to go first and second to see how it goes. And we are going to see the future deck here go second and see if it can get off to a quicker start here. So 2 basic down. Miraidon is the perfect start, so there we go. And it is Charizard player going first. I think they top decked a Buddy Puff in there, which I don't know if it fits a conspiracy that Charizard always has it, but yeah, I think it was the top deck there. If not, still had a few Pokemon in hand, so in a pretty good position there. The Artisan obviously in hand as well if they needed maybe a second Pidgey, which I wouldn't mind at all after last time. But they still got it set up as a thing, so not much to worry about there. We are going to see the Pidgey come down. Just searching the deck to see what's in there. I'd like to see the maximum belt in play this time. Obviously the ace spec of choice, it just helps Charizard get aggressive early on. And it does look like it's just going to be a shuffle and a pass. So, can Miraidon get a knockout here? If it can get a knockout, take out one of the Charmanders, set up the Iron Hands for the following turn. Could be good. The hand's not looking great here. We are going to see Town Store come down. Obviously with so many tools, we've got EXP shares, we've got the capsules, we've got the baton for Iron Hands, which hopefully we can see get into play this time. So it is going to be metal attached and saving that lightning, or it's going to the discard. You can always reboot the energy into play, so discarding energy is not bad for this deck. It doesn't... Techno Radar is good, so we can set up some Iron Crowns, which means we can get a knockout onto Charmander now. Obviously, just want to make sure the Iron Leaves is in there as well. Yeah, it is going to be the Iron Crowns coming down. That's going to be 40, 60, 80. Yeah, that's easily enough there. Plenty of damage. And we are going to see Town Store. Fetch out. I'd like to see the heavy baton here. There it is. There it is. Okay, yeah. Because if you're going to throw all that energy onto the Iron Hands, the only thing you want to do is make sure, even if it's knocked out, that energy is dispersed amongst your other Pokemon. Because like I say, keeping the energy in play is the difficult thing in this deck. Obviously, you want to have the booster on a lot of stuff. So you can't really have EXP share. It's so difficult. It's difficult deciding what to do. Yeah, it's a tough one. You could maybe use, is it Shopping Center where you can change your tools? Maybe something like that would work really nice in this deck. That might be something maybe we look at trying. Is going to be Greninja coming down just to get some more cards in hand. One of the few Pokemon in this deck that's able to do that. And we are just going to see the knockout. And again, trying to set up this Iron Hands. You'll notice we're focusing on trying to set it up and testing if it works. Like I said, we didn't have it in before and we regretted it. So we're just trying to focus on that in this. Obviously, you can set up the Iron Valiant. You can set up Iron Leaves and other stuff. The Iron Leaves is good to slam down as a surprise attacker. So it's why we're focusing on Iron Hands here. It's also quite bulky, so taking that first prize isn't that dangerous unless they get like the maximum belt, but it can't really be helped then. Like, there's nothing you can do to save your Iron Hands if Charizard gets what they need. And all they need, honestly, is an Arven, so it's not much to ask. And I do see an Arven in hand, so we could see the Ultra Ball and Maximum Belt come down here. Just flicking through the deck, double checking it's there. Obviously not there last time. Oh, so it's... Oh, the Town Store. Obviously fetching that Maximum Belt. So we could see Counter Catcher here. But it's going to be Forest Seal Stone and the Ultra Ball. Obviously needing the Charizard a little more than some other things. Well, the belt is going to the discard pile here. So maybe the Iron Hands is going to survive. I guess getting Charizard in play doesn't really matter if there's an Iron Hands. Obviously, boss in hand for next turn. Yeah, you can just sort of pick off these Iron Crowns. It's just going to be the one prize this turn, though, is the only thing. Can Iron Hands take out some Pidgeys here, or maybe take out a Charmander more likely, and race this Charizard to a win? The Town Store is going to be bumped there for the Artisan, and we're going to see, I would assume, another Charmander come out here. Nice art one. Good choice. Good choice. And it is going to... Yeah, Charizard's going to take a prize here. And it's looking pretty good on the side of Future if they can get something going here. Maybe Iron Leaves into play. They could do the same plays last time. Iron Leaves and take a knockout on a Charizard. Obviously this time, like I said, last game we mentioned the Super Rod. So not going to be the same mistake here. Just checking for the reboot of the energy. There's a couple of energy in there now. The fact that Town Store's gone means that we can't quite... Yeah, I don't know if I like the promotion of the Iron Hands there. Okay, so there was a Switch card in hand, which makes sense. Finding the tool off the top deck. We are just going to double check the Iron Leaves isn't in the prizes. We have already checked. I think it was just a Squawk in there. They're going to go back. I'm going to see a research here to draw some more cards. Oh, there's a... Okay, so they were thinking about an Iono, but obviously not many cards in the hand of Charizard there. Let's see what we get here. We do see an EXP share, so hopefully we can get a Pokemon down and get some use out of that. Maybe the Iron Valiant. Not seen any Psychic energy in play yet. We're going to play Artisan, I guess, just to search out... It could be Miraidon, or it could just be to search the deck and double check we've got what we need in there. I don't know if I like... thinning the deck sort of makes sense there. I don't mind that. It's just taking up spaces on your bench, though. You've still got the one space for the Iron Leaves, so as long as we leave that space, we should be okay. We are going to see... an energy go to the discard there, Grass Energy. So the Iron Leaves play probably not on this turn, not able to find it out. And I don't know where the future deck goes from here. This is what I mean. There's turns where it just stalls out, where you're not getting what you need. You can attach once per turn, but that's not enough to set up your Iron Hands. Most of your attackers are 3 energy, so you can't quite get there a lot of the time. And Nest Ball in hand doesn't really help. We could see the retreat here. We haven't seen an attachment yet, so we could see retreat Miraidon, which I think is the only way to do this, but it doesn't feel great. Obviously, weakness with from Charizard means Iron Crown cannot stay in the active here. Absolutely needs to get out. Hide on that bench. Send the Miraidon up. Thinking about tanking a hit with Iron Hands here. Oh, there's no energy in hand. Oh my god. So that Radiant Greninja was very greedy there. Obviously trying to search out. If they could find the Iron Leaves, I mean, they probably win. There's so much set up this time. Reboot pod not been used. Plenty of energy in the discard. None of the energy switch has been used. So if we did see an Iron Leaves there, we could have seen potentially the win for the future box. But it is just a straight knockout, and Charizard is off to the races now. Oh, just one turn too late. The Techno Radar. Both players having a laugh there. just slightly too late. The energy is still in play, so there might be a way to still get this off. Just, you still need an energy from hand. So you could Iron Leaves, grab the energy, but then you're relying on hitting a grass energy off the research. And again, you can't use a Super Rod to fill more grass energy into your deck because, again, you need to save that for Iron Leaves to finish off this game. Few prizes left on the Charizard side, so I think, yeah, that's kind of unfortunate there. We are going to see the tool go onto the Miraidon. And again, it's just going to be a slow turn. What are we going to see come down here? I don't really know what you want to grab in this position. Okay, so it's the Iron Treads coming down. Can swing for some big numbers. It does 60, 20 for the capsule, so it can get up to like 140. It hits for dark. It hits for fighting and steel or metal, so covers some weaknesses there. I think it is just going to be a retreat into the Iron Treads and potentially just try and tank a hit. Okay, so no prize taken, so it is just going to be the retreat into the Charizard. Obviously, the fact that the maximum belt has gone to the discard pile means Iron Hands can just take a hit here. Pidgeot, Rare Candy does mean we're probably going to see a boss here, and that will pretty much seal the deal. Iron Crown going down. All of the damage modifiers then go into the discard pile. Again, don't really want to waste the Super Rod quite yet. And once again, Iron Hands feels more like a liability than anything in this deck. You need so much energy to set it up. Okay, so it's just going to be the Miraidon knockout. 3 prizes left, just take it to 2. Makes a lot of sense here. And then if Future takes any prizes whatsoever, obviously Charizard can answer. It can just knock out anything anyway. I'm sure it's got a third boss yet played. So this game is all but wrapped up. We could see... No, so we might see Radiant Charizard hit the bench, but there's no need. It could get stranded. And it is going to be the 2 prizes left here. Can't see much going on in the hand. Maybe there's not a research in hand. I thought we saw one. We are going to see Greninja here draw some new cards. There's the grass energy, so there's the knockout. Iron Leaves is going to come down and do Iron Leaves things. Pull all the energy to itself. Attach for turn. I think Iron Leaves has a ton of potential, but I don't think it's in this deck. So yeah, I think we might see Iron Leaves appear in other decks like Giratina. And maybe some decks built around it. But yeah, this maybe is not the deck for it. So we're just searching for our deck here. Obviously finding a Charizard. We'll go to Pidgey for the Rare Candy. And that is game. A decisive 2-0 for the side of Charizard there. Like I say, we will be playing both of these decks again. Against other decks and maybe against themselves at some point. Let me know any decks you want to see in the comments below. Let me know if you've enjoyed this one. Any ways we could improve it. That's all I've got for this video though, so I will catch you in the next one.